What is up, guys? It is Christ. We are back with another video. Welcome back to Dream Theater Thursday, and this is going to be a little bit of an extra video for today. I told you guys last week that I was going to be potentially doing more stuff like this, and you guys really seem to love the Mike Portnoy Wikipedia Fact or Fiction. So you guys recommended another one called Name That Tune, and we will be checking that out, but I kind of looked at it, and I was like, well, there's a couple different ones. I don't know which one they want me to check out. If you guys want me to check out both, let me know which one first, or if you want me to check it out in one video, I can do that as well. But we're gonna be checking out John Petrucci's Wikipedia Fact or Fiction. It just came out today. I mean, not today, a few days ago, and I've been pretty excited to check this one out. There will be pauses in the video when I feel I need to make a comment on any kind. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and check it out.
Hey everybody, this is John Petrucci from Dream Theater, and you're watching Loudwire.
This is actually a pretty good show. I've seen several of these so far.
Hey everyone, Graham from Loudwire here, and I'm with Mr. John Petrucci from Dream Theater. Thank you so much for your time today.
Nice to be here.
Oh, so appreciative. Distance over time is the new Dream Theater record. Make sure you pick that up. So, I went on to Wikipedia today,
Okay,
looked at your page, Dream Theater, album, songs, all that stuff.
right.
Pulled out some stuff. You can tell me if it's fact or fiction and
Okay.
elaborate, if you don't mind.
Awesome.
First of all, because we always have to check, John Peter
Yes,
Petrucci,
that is correct.
born in Long Island, New York.
That's correct.
That is correct.
Yes.
They do get that wrong
All right.
sometimes. It says that you picked up the guitar at age 8 because your older sister was allowed to go to bed later in order to practice the piano.
Yeah. Let me
Wait, what?
clarify that a little bit. The actual age, I'm not totally sure. It was like
Okay.
in that zone. I was definitely young,
Okay.
before 10. So
Young enough to have a bedtime still,
yeah,
at least. Yeah.
exactly. And my younger sister, I'm sorry, my older sister played the organ.
The
Not the
organ.
piano.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had this.
Oh, that's a pretty cool
organ
shot.
Lessons at night, and I would be like in bed by 7 or whatever, and I would hear her having these glorious lessons, and I'd be like, man, this sucks. Like, why don't I get to stay up late? She gets to stay up late. You know how kids are, siblings.
Yeah.
And so yeah, my elaborate plan was like, I'll play guitar this way.
I want to say I freaking love his beard. I was so disappointed when Tom Araya like cut his beard. I love the freaking beards, the grizzly beards. Just a side note. I really thought that was interesting. I didn't know that he learned or at least expressed interest in guitar that early. I want to say the other thing that got me interested in guitar was I was playing the video game Rock Band, or actually Guitar Hero first. That's what made me get into guitar.
The lesson will be at night. I'll show her.
Yeah.
But then my lesson was like on Saturday, like during the day.
That's what it said. That
Yeah.
you decided to quit when your attempts to stay up late were unsuccessful.
They were, and honestly, I hated it. And I had this like guitar that was really hard to play.
Okay.
It might have been like that Hello Kitty one.
Was the action super high or something?
Action was super
Yeah,
high. The guy, bless his heart, this older man came in with a pitch pipe and a Mel Bay book, and I'm playing like Mary Had a Little. Like I hated it,
Yeah, that's no fun.
and I was like, this sucks. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this.
It said that you picked up the guitar again at 12.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. And you committed yourself to practicing 6 hours a day when you discovered how much you really loved the guitar.
I did start when I was 12. I met John Mayung shortly thereafter. We met in middle school, and he was just like me, just obsessed with
Yeah.
at bass, And we made this pact where we had to practice 6 hours a day. Like that was our
Okay.
pact together. So, back then, middle school, going into high school and everything, there were like a lot of parties. Guys were like, oh, we're going to the beach, we're going to hang out.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. And so John and I had this secret sort of thing that like if we saw each other at that party, it would mean that we had put in our 6 hours.
Ah, okay.
Like you would just see it and be like, it was just like,
Okay.
yeah.
Practice always first
You
before
practice
partying.
first. So
Gotcha.
and if the guy wasn't there, you'd be like, he's practicing.
He's practicing. Well, I'm glad.
So that's pretty crazy. I can't even imagine practicing for 6 hours a day. That amount of dedication is absolutely amazing, especially for kids that were like in middle school, high school. Like kids want to, do tons of different things, be outside, play video games. Of course, I don't know video games were necessarily around when he was a kid, but to put in that much like practice is insane. 6 hours a day playing guitar, that's no joke. That's like serious, and mad props, mad respect to him for wanting to do that.
Glad you brought up the thing about you and John
Yes.
practicing 6 hours a day, because on Wikipedia it says that you started that 6 hour practice rule once you started at Berkeley.
No.
So it was before
It was
that.
way
it was,
before
it was like
that.
middle school.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay, so
Way
there's a little
before
bit of
that.
fiction there.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Metropolis 1 was originally known as Crumbling Metropolis.
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think so.
It says sometime around 89, Crumbling was dropped. Part 1 in the title was originally added by yourself as a joke, as no sequel was ever intended.
Well, you know what? We were huge Rush fans,
Of course.
you know, and like whenever you see a Rush song with part 1 and
Yeah.
listen, it's like you got to do it, you know. So yeah, so the part 1 was like
It was your inside Rush joke, kind of?
it was. It wasn't like it wasn't really intended to be another section.
Gotcha. It
Another-
was.
That's pretty funny. I've always heard that, but like to hear it come from him it's the icing on the cake. Like that's funny. I think the public outcry was just so much they had to do like a part 2, which is pretty funny.
Wasn't like 7 years later,
Right.
we'll do part 2.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It says that when Kevin Moore announced that he was leaving the band, that you especially found the news very hard to take.
Yes.
Well, that was a tough time.
Absolutely. You know, Kevin and I, he was my best friend growing up. So, you know, we like, you know, every guy probably has like a friend that they just do everything
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
You know, it's like we literally did everything together. Our families were friends. You know, we lived right around the corner from each other. So it's like every day we were just hanging out, playing music, doing everything. And, you know, then obviously our band became successful, which was the dream we both had. We were touring, we had everything going for us, and we were, you know, doing the Awake, you know, recording, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to leave, and I just was like devastated.
Yeah.
I was like, what? You know, I don't understand. So yeah, so for me personally, it was very heartbreaking, you know, because that was basically, you know, at that point, and he kind of like sort of disappeared and went on and did his own thing, and you know, we've been in touch very little, and I haven't actually talked to him in a long, long time. So it was basically the end of that long-time childhood relationship.
That's got to be pretty heartbreaking. There's you know, people like to think that like when you're young that you're gonna be best friends forever, but it's just it's most of the time is not the case. You have a bunch of friends, you know, growing up in school, and then apologies. Um, you like to think that when you are in it's cool that like you're gonna be friends with these people forever, and by the time high school is done, you got maybe 1 or 2 friends that you know you still even remotely talk to, let alone hang out with on a normal basis. And I can only imagine like they probably played for a very long time together, like years, and then just to have them up and quit one day would be devastating, especially when he's saying right here that like he hasn't talked to him in a very very long time. It makes you think of the friends that you had when you were in school that you no longer talk to. I guess is what I'm trying to say. It'd be pretty rough.
Yeah, it was
Give
tough.
him a call.
Yeah, come on, man.
Moving on to the song Misunderstood.
Yeah.
It says you wrote and played the guitar solo, then reversed it. Then you learned how to play the reversed version. After recording it, you reversed it again. So that means like it was back to the beginning?
I know that live it's definitely reverse, and live I have to like mimic a reverse playing when I'm trying to play it.
Okay.
But I'm gonna say I don't really recall how we did that exactly.
Okay.
Make
I have to listen to it.
Making music so complicated you can't even remember how you did it. That's hilarious.
Again, I mean, we might have just reversed it, and that was it.
Yeah,
That
if
was
you
the end of
reverse
it.
something twice,
Yeah.
it's back where it began.
That would be kind of silly.
So it would be
Well-
kind of a pointless exercise.
Yes and no, because you could make minute changes that could definitely affect the sound of something, and then trying to emulate that. If you were to change it multiple times, it would change over the course of you actually doing that, to the point where it may not even be the same solo. I guess is what I'm trying to say. That's strange, and then like the experimentation that they do is just unparalleled.
Exercise.
Right, exactly.
So the Black Clouds album, A Nightmare to Remember, was
Yeah.
based on a childhood car incident.
This is one of my favorite songs.
And The Count of Tuscany was about an actual encounter in Tuscany.
Yes,
That's true?
they're both true. Yeah.
What happened in Tuscany? Did you get kidnapped or something?
It's a
I-
long story.
I want to hear this.
The concept lyrically, personally behind the Black Clouds album was to write about real events that happened. A Nightmare to Remember was about a car accident that my entire family was in.
Ooh.
That we all survived. My father was actually very badly injured, but it was a family car accident that was horrible.
Wow. Yeah.
But anyway, Count of Tuscany was an experience that I had with my good friend Mark Snyder, who was my guitar tech, and John Mayung, and another guy who is our current drum tech, who was like brand new at that time. And my buddy Mark is now a huge success in the wine business and owns Red Hook Winery in Brooklyn, the only winery in Brooklyn.
Cool.
But he was interested in possibly working with this winery in Tuscany. He said, "Do you want to come to this castle with the Count?" And so this guy, this guy Sebastiano picked us up in his little car, his tiny little car, and we drove through the city.
That's cool. That'd be
in
so
Florence,
awesome.
And, the first thing he said was that we're going to this castle, and oh yeah, just as an aside, if you know the Silence of the Lambs story, Silence of the Lambs, the sequel, Hannibal, where he's in Tuscany. Anthony Hopkins' character.
Yeah.
He's playing at the curator of this big library in Tuscany, in Florence, and that was based on the Count's brother, like on his life.
That would be rough.
Yeah, so
Like,
it's like, okay, that's weird and scary. Yeah,
That is weird.
that's really weird. So we eventually we knew that, so that was freaky. We went to this castle, met the brother, who was like Italian but had an English accent, and was smoking a pipe, and he was like this historian and everything, and we proceeded to have the most bizarre experience of our lives, the four of us, with all these like weird encounters at the castle with the brother, and it was really freaky. Like there's one room that we went into, and they had these like floor-to-ceiling wine barrels. It's like, and the guy was an historian.
you could tell that he wants to move on, but he doesn't at the same time because he wants to hear this like full. I want to hear this full story too. You could tell that like he wanted to move on to a different question, but like now he's piqued his curiosity. He wants to hear about the full story because this is one of the most infamous songs, from what I understand, and not a lot of people actually believe like the whole story. And he's saying the whole thing is true. Like, so that's pretty crazy that like a giant misunderstanding like he made him think that he was gonna die there or something, and it's just crazy. Like, I love the Count of Tuscany. I love the story behind it, even though some of the lyrics are like super over the top cheesy. Still one of my favorite songs by Dream Theater, and this guy's definitely a pretty big fan of it too.
And as I mentioned, and so he proceeded to tell us that during the war, the soldiers would come in there to hide from the Germans, and they'd go into the wine barrels, and they're still in there to this day, just like freaky things. Like
Whoa!
It's just some weird dude in a castle.
Yeah.
And
And
there's the
so
song.
when I decided to write about real life situations, I'm like, I'm writing about
Why
that.
not?
Yeah.
So it's a little weird, a little unconventional.
That's crazy.
Wow. That's
Some
cool.
people might think it's hokey.
No, that's awesome.
It's funny.
I like that. It says that Wither is a ballad written about the process that you go through during the writing of the song.
Yes. So here's the funny thing.
I don't really want to hear this. I haven't heard Wither.
Sometimes
I've heard Wither.
we talked about what people interpret things, like the meaning.
Yeah.
So people, I've had a lot of people say a lot of things about they like the poetry of that song and the deep meaning and everything. Well, when I was trying to come up with a subject matter for that particular song, I was talking to my wife, and we were joking. We were talking about the Seinfeld episode where it's a show about nothing.
Yeah.
So she was like, write a song about nothing.
What?
So that was my concept, was I was writing a song about nothing. And it turned into like the process of like that when you're going to write music or lyrics or a story, there's this point that you get to where you basically have nothing. And you're starting. You're staring at a blank page.
Yeah,
totally
writer's block.
and the process that happens. So it's not as deep as it sounds.
Trust me, as someone
from a very
that's
low
wrote, I
funny
definitely understand
place.
writer's block.
It turned out to be a really cool song.
That's like the least. It's almost like the least Dream Theater thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
To write a song about nothing.
Yes.
Last one.
Yeah.
It says you are an avid fan of bodybuilding and dedicate much of your off time to weight training.
I do. I've been doing that for many years. Something I discovered a while back. I had actually, I was in a skiing accident,
Oh.
which was scary because I, as a kid, I never skied, and so we decided, once we had kids, we wanted to like take them skiing and let them experience that. And of course, as an adult, like trying to learn how to ski,
Yeah.
it was pretty bad. And skiing out here on the East Coast, where there's a lot of ice and everything like that, I went tumbling down the mountain and dislocated my shoulder, and it was really awful. But I started kind of rehabilitating that, and I couldn't move my arm at all. Never mind lift anything.
It's a nightmare for a guitarist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I recovered from that and decided to train. And so then I got really, really into it and never looked back. But,
Awesome.
It's the type of thing where it like makes you feel strong and healthy, and you can go to do some sort of normal activity and not throw your back out or hurt yourself.
Great. John, thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
There you guys have it. That was Wikipedia's Fact or Fiction featuring John Petrucci. And I will say that was definitely a really good episode. Really enjoyed that. Definitely learned some stuff I didn't know about him. I didn't know he was in a skiing accident. And directly from the horse's mouth, he said that the Count of Tuscany is why is this like that? Let's move this a little bit this way. Is a true story. Like he said, he didn't say anything in it was made up. So as cheesy as they are, that must mean that either most, if not all of it, is true, just told in an exaggerated manner, or not really exaggerated at all. It's kind of crazy to think that that stuff happens, and that like the Silence. He met the person who was like the Silence of the Lambs was based off of, which was pretty crazy, as well as the story about his family getting in a crash. I knew that they'd gotten into a crash, but I thought his father died, and apparently he didn't, which is pretty awesome. Even though his father did get seriously injured, so that's kind of sad. Definitely learned some stuff that I didn't know about John Petrucci, as well as sort of confirmed some stuff that I've only heard said by other people for a while now. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I would say that this was a very, very informative episode. Definitely liked it. I liked how he said that he tried practicing guitar when he was 8, just because he wanted a later bedtime, and that didn't happen. So he gave up for 4 years, and he started when he was 12. So that's just it's a pretty cool story. Really enjoyed this episode of Wikipedia Fact or Fiction. I hope you guys did as well. If you guys could drop a like on this video if you liked it, it definitely helps us in the algorithm, helps us get seen more. Drop a comment. Let me know if you actually knew all this stuff, or if some of this stuff was new. I would greatly like to know. And so if there's any more of these Wikipedia Fact or Fiction or any kind of spin-off type of videos you guys want to see, make sure you let me know in the comment section. I don't know if James Labrie has one. I know Mike Portnoy, we just did his. We just did John Petrucci's. I don't know if Mayang, Rudess, or Mangini have one as well. It'd be kind of interesting to know. As well as we're going to be trying to check out Mike Portnoy's Name That Tune. So if you guys want to see that, let me know how you want to see it. Do you guys want to see one episode each, or do you guys want me to do it all in one? I'd be curious to know. And without further ado, this is Big Christ. We will see you guys next time.